Okay, so we had an imam that was going to be on that had an emergency, so I'll have to shift gears and go to someone who's like a khatib. Um, we have so many, huh? Brother Hassan, can you give us Al-Fatiha, please?
Sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Ameen. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Zoom on behalf of Direct Action 2020. The purpose of our meeting is to bring everybody up to speed. Some have been in previous Zoom meetings and others have not. I have one person waiting. Okay, there's Omar. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so in phase one, we started with a small group of subject matter experts who were tasked with the following. They were tasked with identifying the most critical, essential areas where systemic racism is impacting African American community. Number two, they were tasked with tracing the laws, regulations, and rules that support those discriminatory actions. Next, with developing a course of action for legal corrective measures that could be brought to bear to reverse, regulate, or mitigate the negative impact on the community in general and African American community in particular. Next, to prepare a very succinct document outlining the aim, purpose, and methodology for Direct Action 2020 that we would use in addressing systemic racism. And finally, to identify potential local, state, and national partners willing to engage with us in addressing systemic racial discrimination, and that was able to articulate as well as interface with the appropriate government entities. Based on the information that our subject matter experts developed, we were able to have previous meetings which really focused on those key points. And some things have already been passed on to our partners. Today we enter phase two. And phase two is focused on the eradication of systemic racism against African Americans as well. And we scheduled this meeting as an opportunity for a meet and greet. Some of you have not met each other before, and this is an opportunity for us to meet and greet one another. And in particular, to have some input from one of our key partners, which is IMPACT, the Islamic Center of Southern California, and Brother Lemuel Muhammad. I want to just share that our vision is multi-directional and that we're not only looking outward at eradicating institutionalized systemic racism, we're also looking inward at being a resource for religious institutions, organizations seeking insight and direction that may assist them in navigating this new pandemic racial justice terrain. Those groups, businesses, and frankly, anyone interested in engaging with us in this space where alliances, reconciliation, and support from freedom, justice, and equality for the human family can begin to flourish. So what we want to do now is introduce the members of the panel that have not had a chance to be introduced previously. And just so we don't leave anybody out, we're just going to go straight down the line and let each person give us a little insight into themselves and what they do. And we'll try and keep it very succinct. I want to start with, Sophia's not here. Okay, Sister Layla Kadira Yamini.
Hear me?
Just barely.
My name is Layla Kadira Yamini, and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here for
Okay, we're not hearing you.
Is there any way I can call in?
I'm not proficient enough to be able to do that. For the purpose of brevity, and so we can keep moving, but still let them know who you are. Sister Layla Kadira Yamini is a health coach. She resides in Atlanta, Georgia. She's been very active in the Atlanta community. She's an author and also a lecturer on health concerns. She's authored a book called Glowing with Ramadan All Year Long, which is really impressive book on something that really starts to be the afterthought after Ramadan is gone, like, how do I keep this high? How do I keep this feeling? And for this particular occasion, she is here to assist us by making sure we stay on track. The next person that I want to bring is Brother Omar Ricci.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Pleasure to meet those of you who I haven't met here on Zoom. I'm in Los Angeles, 51 years old, with the Islamic Center of Southern California. I'm the current spokesperson and been involved there for virtually my entire life, for 45 years. I'm also a former chair of MPAC with Salam, and currently on the board of MPAC. I'm also on the board of Foundation as well. And I'm also a reserve LAPD police officer, 11-year veteran there. And so I have a bit of law enforcement experience as well. And I'm married and have 4 daughters. Alhamdulillah.
Four beautiful daughters.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so now I want to get directly to, and just for transparency sake, I'm trying my best, and I hope it's working, to record this, because we plan to use it on our Facebook group, which is growing really exponentially, really a lot of response there, because we're going to be asking that group that is working with us and has joined us to review some of the material here, and also to see where they can find a place for themselves. So now what I want to do is ask one of our really key components of this whole process, Brother Salam Al-Mariyati, if he would share with us not only who he is and what he does, but the very significant and critical role that Impact is playing with Direct Action 2020. Brother Salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Honored to be with Imam Tariq and everybody. MPAC, Muslim Public Affairs Council, is a advocacy, public policy, and public opinion organization. We have an office in Washington, D.C., with access to the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, and even the National Security Council in the White House, and the State Department. We have an office in Los Angeles that engages Hollywood on stories that shape the narrative and perceptions about Islam and Muslims. And we've been in existence for 32 years, alhamdulillah. Imam Tariq was with us upstairs in the Islamic Center, stuffing and licking envelopes, sending out our first report and appeal to the community. And we've been joined at the hip since. And I think what we're talking about in terms of this group is MPAC is ready to launch an advocacy campaign, lobbying campaign, writing op-eds. We just need to figure out what's inside that module, that capsule, and then send it out. And so I think that's the role we aim to play. We have interns, we have staff, we have DC, we have 2 or 3 interns. They're always asking what they can do so we can get them busy on this project. And I hope that this is the brain trust, the nerve center here that can direct the actions of these young people who are eager to work.
Alhamdulillah. Just to kind of expand that concept just a little bit, we have 5 areas. Direct Action has 5 areas that we're looking at, and that we've asked our members across the country to look locally at their particular city governments and communities, and to see if they have situations or examples where they can identify systemic racism actually working adversely for African Americans in particular. And so we're looking at policing, we're looking at healthcare, we're looking at education, we're looking at jobs, and we're looking at housing. And so as these elements, and we have our subject matter experts that have been looking across the country at different levels of litigation that's already been started. We know that the U.S. Congress has been working on some things. And what we don't want to do is try and recreate the wheel. We have our own specific lane that we're working in. And we're working in conjunction with, in a sense, all of the other groups. Systemic racism actually defines the approach to it. It's not a one size fits all. No one individual, no savior's gonna jump up, whether it's an individual or an organization's gonna save. And by right, I believe, it's gonna take all of us from all of our different perspectives and concerns and interests working collectively in order to achieve the goal. And so once we get these particular things that look like they're very egregious and that they show that there's systemic racism, then we are sending that to Impact for them to review and look at for possibly putting it into some kind of legislative format. As Salam and Al-Mariyati pointed out, they have 25 years, good a solid over 25 years of working with governmental agencies, with mayors, with congressional people, all the way up to the White House. And so what they have envisioned and that we're looking forward to is to be able to take all of the pain, all of the passion, all of the rage that we see in the communities of color and translate that into legislative language or vocabulary, and then take that and pair it, hopefully, inshallah, with a legislator, a senator, a congressperson that is willing to actually take it and introduce it into the system for legislation. I want to quickly add that we have another route should that not take place. One of the people that's not able to be with us right now is Imam Ishmael Allgood, who is originally from Los Angeles, California, and he's well known locally, him and Umar Hakim, as being very dynamic community organizers. And so as each one of you know, if you cannot go through the direct method for changing laws, you can go through a secondary position, which is called a referendum. And that simply requires us to get a specific number of signatures, and each county or each state has different numbers based on what they require there. And this is where our community organizers really come into play. They help us get the signatures, get it on the ballot, and then get people out to vote. So we have a clear path, regardless of which way it goes, in order to make change. And at this time, one of the most dynamic things I've seen recently, based on this pandemic and the social distancing and everything, is that we are moving in a direction where we're going to be doing more and more things on Zoom and other platforms like that. And we're looking to change laws that impact the cities and the communities that people are living in. But there's a tremendous idea that has been shared with me by a brother, Lemuel Muhammad, who is in Los Angeles, California. And it's not a new idea. It's been around a little while, but he's taken it to a whole different level, and it's the smart cities concept. This actually shifts the power in the community to the people in the community, allows them to identify the most vital elements in their community that they depend upon and want to have some control over. It wires the whole place. And if I don't stop, I'm going to tell you the whole thing he was going to tell you. Brother Lemuel, can you explain to us what this concept is?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because the audio coming from you is kind of choppy, but basically, my name is Lemuel Muhammad. I'm in the Nation of Islam, and I have a company called YICS, which is Your International Communication Services, which at first I inherited this company from another Muslim. It was at first ICS. And what we're involved in now, because I don't have time to give you the history, I see the speed at which Brother Imam is moving. So what I would like to share with you is, yes, we've been, myself and my wife, within the company of YICS, have been trying to develop smart community development, which is a concept that was brought out of smart city development, which we saw as a result of going to various different conferences and meeting with different um, innovators in the field of technology, that eventually most cities would have to uh, turn to smart IoT services in order to function economically. Well, what we did at that particular time, we wanted to create an opportunity or a way that we could work in our communities and develop using the smart technology to bring our people together, utilize that to create a better way of life, you know, at an affordable rate based on the technology that was coming down the pike. Well, one of the main things that you have to do, number one, is communicate with the people in the community and bring them together. Once you bring them together, you can share ideas with them that will actually create a new frame of mind to make them want to come together and live a better life. So basically, that's what it's about. You bring the community together based on the technology and humans, and then from there you could take them step by step to a better level. It's so much involved. I couldn't begin to try to explain it. You know, uh, whereas you could get a full overview of it right now. Hopefully, I will get an opportunity to do that at a later date.
Inshallah. Thank you very, very much. And to
Mhm.
connect with that, before we actually conclude, I'm going to give everyone the email address and the voicemail so that you can communicate outside of our Zoom meetings and share information with each other. It'll give Brother Lemuel an opportunity to share in more in depth the concept and how it relates to addressing systemic racism and alleviating a lot of the problems that we're seeing in the inner cities, and turn over more power, more say-so, more control to the people in the communities. It's been very interesting to see how many individuals and organizations since the death of George Floyd have been reaching out saying, I need to get more informed about what's happening in this country. I mean, I had heard some whispers that there were mistreatment of people and so on, but I had no idea it was this egregious. And in the process of that, as I mentioned in my opening statement, not only are we reaching out, addressing systemic racism as far as institutions and governmental agencies, we're also reaching inside and doing some soul searching and making ourselves a resource available to religious organizations, church groups, masajids, Islamic centers, civic organizations that are asking questions like, okay, where can we fit in here? Where can we learn? Where can we get more information? Where is there a part? Is there a place for us to play a part? One of those institutions that I have an affinity for, and that I've spent, I don't want to tell you how many years, but as they would say in the Caribbean, donkey years, is with the Islamic Center of Southern California. And so I have referred to it frequently as my second home. My first home was the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I referred to the Islamic Center as my second home. And so through conversations that I've had with various individuals there, I came across one of my old friends who expressed a similar interest in, like, okay, we are active in the community. We've been active in the community. Anybody that knows the history of the Islamic Center knows the Islamic Center has been a pioneer in interfaith and interracial cooperation for years and years and years. But now people are saying, don't tell me what you did in the past. What have you done for me lately? And so in that effort, I've been working with the Islamic Center and plan to continue doing so with Impact and Islamic Center. And I just want to bring into the conversation, brother, I want to call him Dr. Hassan Zeenni, and ask him if he would share with us his thoughts on the efforts that we are dealing with, the things that they are dealing with the Islamic Center as an institution in the community, and even maybe share some of his expectations or desires going forward. Brother Hassan Zeenni.
Salam alaikum, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for this generous introduction, Imam. I mean, first of all, I think I have to be very honest and straightforward. For the longest time, working with Imam Tariq and working with Brother Omar Hakim and working through the Islamic Center, I guess we were in a bubble. That bubble is that the African American leaders were heavily engaged with us. But I think this is a new time where we are feeling the pain of the nation. I think this is what's new for us and for me personally, literally feeling the pain of the nation. I think the second part is also very personal, because my nephew is my brother who passed away, God bless his soul. He was married to an African-American lady. And the other day I was looking at him, sitting with my children, and I was worried at what time I have to have talk to him, like most of you talking to the young black man about the police and so on. So it really broke my heart that I never had to have this conversation with my children, but I have to have it with my nephew, and both of them are Zeennis. These are among many other things that really bring this issue to my heart now, and realizing that outside the Islamic Center, there is so much that ought to be done. As Imam Tariq said, the inner and the outer. I think the inner, I am realizing that listening to some of the African American leaders, that within our community there is this a sense of racism. I think that while I didn't feel it at the center, as Imam Tariq Aquil mentioned, he was one of us, and we have this healthy, vibrant relationship. But yet, outside the center, it seems to me that there is a virus for racism that is contagious and it's going around, and I think that ought to be nipped. That's the inner, and I think we have to lean on our faith, and we have to fight it with all our might. And so it's not just the center, but it's working with other communities within the Muslim community to really fight whatever satanic virus there is left at racism. As far as the outer, I am part of Impact, I'm part of the center, and I have to lean on them. But we have to admit now we will be forging a stronger relationship with the African American leaders, like, for example, Imam Tariq has become an advisor to our chairperson, and will be an advisor to Impact as well. So we have to, we can never feel the shoes and feel the pain of the African American, but we have to rely on our relationship to be closer and to solution and to find what we can do. As I said 3 days ago, there was a seismic shift in America, and I believe in the world. My daughter is in Thailand. She called me the other day, and she was sharing with me in Thailand the pain that has transpired between her African American friends and her white friends. And then after a long discussion, she wrote something on her Facebook, realizing what's going on. So this seismic it's a worldwide, it's a nationwide. I think it changed the geography for all of us. And I am honored to be part of this group, hoping, inshallah, we'll be guided by my faith, guided by you, and so we can bring about the change. Thank you, Imam.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very, very much. Wow, we are right on time. It's almost unbelievable. So like I said, this was a meet and greet and a catch up. I want to just go back for just a moment before we wrap it up. And I know that it was for transparency's sake that Brother Omar Ricci mentioned to us that he is a reserve police officer. But I want to just add a little bit to that. It is not, it's not a coincidence that he was invited, and I'm sure based on the personality and his interests, it's not a coincidence that he agreed to become part of direct action. And I want to say that of the 5 areas that I mentioned, one of them deals with policing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we are to be the balanced community. He tells us, say a word directed to the right. We can go all throughout the Quran and find all kinds of ayahs and surahs in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we are supposed to be the one that is centric and that differentiates between what is right and what is wrong, and not being moved by passion or emotion to color the truth or to hide the truth. Having that in mind, I'm not in favor of painting all of anybody with a single brush, like let's just dump all of them. One of the things that I like about seeing different individuals that I watch grow up in the Islamic Center, and that I know that were rooted in the Islamic Center, like Brother Omar Ricci, is when I look at them, I say, wow, look at how beautiful and powerful Islam is. The Islamic education, look what it produced. It's like the fruit. What we're looking at now, Omar Ricci, you might not look at yourself like a fruit. I'm a fruit. I'm the FOI, fruit of Islam. You might not look at yourself as a fruit, but we are the product of this tree that was planted in this country called Islam. And so to look at the variety of it, and to see some that aspired to be politicians, some that aspired to be business people, to be in film, in the arts, and for some to take seriously the oath to protect and serve. This is fantastic. This is the fruit that's on this tree. And so I'm very happy that that we have this this cross section of people from the community involved in this work right now. Okay, so I want to give you the email address. Yes, Brother Ansaar, give them the email address.
Brother Tariq, I just wanted to share a story that came out today.
Okay.
Might be of interest to everybody. It's a story in the Los Angeles Times about Black police officers and how they're trying to work with the problem of racism from within, and how they need to be more represented at the top. When you look at most law enforcement entities, they might have Black officers on the street, or maybe even captains, but the executive circle, if you will, that inner circle around the chief or around whoever is in charge is usually white men. And so that might be an area that we could work at, because we know people, Omar, through, you know, and the LAPD, and then through the LAPD, they know a lot of national police departments, and they're part of the major, I think it's called major Association of Major City
International Association of Chiefs of Police.
There's two of them. There's the international, and then there's also the Major Cities Chiefs Association. So we could come up with a what do you call it? A resolution, and send it through them and get it passed, and then get some of our Black Muslim brothers working within the police departments to move them up the ladder, so to speak.
Alhamdulillah. I'm glad we're reporting this. That'll be noted. Yes, sir. Brother Omar, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, you know, yes, I'm LAPD and a reserve police officer. That means I don't go in every day. I do it every weekend type of thing. Having said that, the way I work with the LAPD, and I think the way the LAPD views me, if you will, is as a bridge between law enforcement and the Muslim community.
Yes.
And I've tried to play that role in various aspects. The LAPD, certainly I imagine for Brother Lemuel and those in Ismail, Imam Ismail are maybe aware, is creating a whole new bureau, a whole new major area of the LAPD. You know, just like you have patrol and you have other things, a whole new area called Community Safety Partnerships. And it's being headed by an African-American woman named Imad Tingrides. What I'm driving at is that there's, in this embryonic stage of change, that there is great opportunity for us to play a role in policing, just like Salam was talking about in terms of getting something going, and at the senior leadership level. There is also the opportunity at the grassroots level to create a model. And one of the things that is lacking in the country is a national standard for policing. If we can create a model quickly, or somehow, move in a way where we're both, walking and chewing gum, if you will, we can create something that is exportable and can with an import that is doing in Washington D.C. to move things forward. So there's a great opportunity and window here, is what I'm saying.
Can I just add to that point, build on what Omar just said? It's very, very important what he just said. Whatever local model we can come up with, MPAC can then go to Washington, D.C., talk to our allies, and see if we can make it a federal standard.
Right.
Alhamdulillah.
And then the federal standard would say, unless you do, if you want money from the federal government, you need to comply with A, B, and C.
Right.
And so we can establish federal standards on this issue as well.
Alhamdulillah. I think that's going to move right up to the top of our to-do list. In order to save time, I think what I will do is I will email or text to you the contact information for Direct Action 2020, the email address and the voicemail, because we have been doing so good. So we'll conclude by just some words that I want to add here. We'll continue to collect data from various communities across the country where there are active situations of systemic racism. And our to-do list, which now has what we've discussed here, we'll continue to work on both the issues that are already being prepared for submission to MPAC, as well as continuing our community outreach and response. I would hope to schedule another meeting when it's convenient, and just kind of so we can gauge our progress and see how we're moving toward the objectives. And in the interim, we're going to be polling and sampling the concerns of some of our social media supporters, and we'll share that results with you the next time we get together again. So we want to invite all of you to provide any concerns from your perspective, communities, or from yourselves that you can add to the list of issues to address systemic racism and other things that adversely affect African-American community and people at large. So I want to thank you very, very much for your time. I want to thank you for your input. I want to thank you for your support. I should have started by saying Eid Mubarak, because this is the third day of the Eid. And may Allah continue to bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your participation. Assalamu alaikum.
Eid Mubarak, everybody.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak, everyone. Salam alaikum.
Salam.
Assalamu alaikum.